right. Now, we have previously discussed the writing of the numerical symbols upon a Star of David. Now, you write them on a small star, such as these, that are available from Right-Hand Press, the patterns, and they can have Xerox copies made. So you know this is a pattern of disharmony. Now, the numbers, or the meaning of the numbers is covered in other material. But anyway, so you have your pattern of disharmony. Now, I will stress here that in radionics, a primary thing to remember is that direction is of utmost importance. So if I was going to put this upon a pattern, I would want to make sure I had it in the correct orientation. All right, now this is a large picture of what I have on the little star. I'm going to take this down now. Now this diagram here is the World Radionics diagram that is available from Right-Hand Press. It is the product of intense research in the spiritual sciences. It is based on a great many mystery school secrets. It's based upon the understanding of the primary laws, cosmic laws, and it's based on a desperate need for our world to receive some clearing of negation. So what we have here is we are, in effect, clearing whatever darkness is on oneself from the whole planet. Doesn't it, you know, like, have you ever seen those revival preachers and stuff where they tell people, oh, spirit of destruction, come out, come out, and come out, and then they'll knock that entity off of somebody and then it's on somebody else. Well, see, that always bothered me because it seemed to me, why would you want to run it off of one person and they get on another one? And people can say, oh, bind them in hell, but how do you know they're bound? You know, I think we need to look at this from a very specific standpoint. So what I found was that by placing it in a location around a world map, which this is a map of the planet Earth, and these symbols are symbols of dimensional doorways. All dark energies come through the inverse universe through these dimensional doorways. So what we're going to do, it's like you have a hole in a curtain, and we're going to sew up that hole. Every dark force that comes through is a pattern of a disharmony that it expresses the same thing as a tear in the veil between good and evil. Our world should not have disharmony in it, so we're going to block that. So we have our symbol written correctly and neatly. It's very important that when you make eights to always make the circles complete. If you make a 4, make it 4 like I did, you know, with a squared off top. You don't want them to be confused with 9s. And when you make 9s, you make sure the 9 is looped because it may be a 4 energy. Like I said, symbols and forms have power in themselves. It is not the thought form. You must get that straight. And because it's primary. I've seen people write very sloppy. You should always use black ink, for instance, and they think, well, it's just my desire that's doing this. No, and I tell them, no, it's not true. You can make yourself sick by putting numbers on your picture, no matter how much you want to make yourself feel good if you put the wrong numbers on. Numbers are the most powerful healing methods today. So anyway, we're talking about blocking disharmonies such as hate thought forms, such as entities, from impacting you. Things that are of the dark world we're blocking. So what you would do is you would take your Dowsing diagram and you would say, all right, which dimension does this manifest in? And we have the dimensions represented on 2 fan charts here. Now, you can then the dimensions or the symbols are the same as on here. So what you would do is you would determine which dimension to put it in. You could douse directly over the map, but it might be harder to remember. You could have a small diagram of the map, which is in the book available from Right-Hand Press, and the book, Gnostic book. And then you would take the small diagram and say, and you could douse directly over it and say, which of these dimensions is this disharmonious energy manifesting from? And then you know where to place it on the big one. So say you find that it is in this dimensional space here. What you do is you look at the way that the symbol is directed. It's pointing toward the center somewhat. And you put it on. Now, if it was this one here, you would have to put it what appears to be upside down, because you orient it exactly like the symbol is oriented. If it was this one, you would have to do it in this direction. If it was this one, you would orient it in this direction. So it is of primary importance that it go like this one goes in that direction. Like I said, direction is a key part of radionics. It is one of the most dynamic parts of radionics. If you direct it the wrong way, think about it. If you had a 6 and you turned it upside down, you'd have a 9, wouldn't you? So each of these dimensions are like that. Do you want a 9 energy in there, or do you want a 6 energy in there? So you've got to be specific in your direction, or you're going to get it wrong. All right, so you put it on the map. Now, then the key thing is you cover the diagram underneath and on top with black. You can use a black trash bag. You can use, I prefer black cloth that's very thick, you know, like felt. And put it under and put it on top, and you orient the diagram correctly. As if you look at the way the map is, this would be north, and this would be west, and this would be east, but you orient the map exactly like it is, but there may be a variation for your area. Now, how do you douse which way to turn it? You could say, okay, now, should I orient this a little more to the right or to the left? And your pendulum could go a little to the right. You could use one of these as a marker. So you might move it a little to the right or a little to the left. Because depending on where you are on the planet, you may have a different orientation of the world radionic map. And so you want to make sure that, that you have your map oriented correctly. And so we've gone through the steps here. You determine there's a disharmonious energy. Say you take the aura meter, you detect a disharmonious energy. You find the numerical pattern. After dowsing over a chart such as this one, you find a pattern, which happens in this case to be 722166 dot underline of 4. That pattern represents a disharmonious energy that you then write inside a Star of David. The Star of David is in a circle as well, as you can see here. That's very important. Or you could, Solomon's seal is actually a more accurate term. So you have the Solomon seal, the pattern of the disharmony oriented correctly on the diagram. You have the diagram oriented correctly. You have a black surface behind the diagram and a black surface on top of the diagram. Then you put it in a place away from loud music. It is very important to remember that since all things have pattern, that includes sounds. And if you have rock music or you're watching The Simpsons on TV, that exerts a radionic influence on everything in the house. It impermeates the walls. Everything that a person does, watches, hears, it permeates the walls. During the Persian Gulf, it was very distressing to me that family members wanted to watch all that crap on the TV, because what it did was bring all that horror of the bombing of civilians and the tragedies our soldiers faced. It brought it into my living room, and by doing that, it made sorrow in the house. So it's important when you're dealing with radionics, you want it away from those influences, which would add to it. This world map diagram is a representation of the doorways of all of the dimensions on our whole planet. Dimensions are all over our planet in certain key spots. And if you have this diagram around these noises, those influences will go in those dimensions. That's the reason you cover it up. By covering it with black, you block a lot of energy, such as people's energies, from entering into those dimensional spaces. and impacting the world. By covering it up, you are dealing with blocking dark forces, and you are not doing any radionics that could at all hurt the world. I can guarantee you that at this current time, this is the only method that is safe to do world radionics. It would be very harmful to use a lot of the normal radionic instruments that are common today, that have been used since Abrams, Hieronymus, Ruth Drown. All of the radionics pioneers used equipment that had an electromagnetic base to it. This is the only safe thing one can do. Do not try to add it to an existing radionic system, because it's based with completely different ideas, and it could possibly damage the planet. You wouldn't want to blow up the planet, would you? Well, in this case, you have no risk of that, because all you're doing is sewing up tears between the dark world and the light world. It's completely safe. If you don't sew up all the tear, you're not doing any damage. You may not, some darkness may still spew in through that hole. You may not have gotten it all sewed up, but you're not making hurt. And if you say you sew up something that's not torn, you're not hurting it. No more darkness is going to come through there. You might have sewed one up that didn't need it. That means if you put a wrong number on the wrong slot, it's not going to hurt anything. You're just putting stitches in fabric that is not torn. You're not hurting a thing. But if you tried to do radionics using a planetary witness, which this is a diagram is a planet witness, if you tried to do that with other types of radionics, you would be adding something to the world, to the right-hand universe of the world, which would be dangerous. So I would not recommend it at all. This system is safe, and it was given by the guidance of holy beings for the express purpose of helping the planet heal and to slow down the destruction that is currently present on the planet. Now, there is an abbreviated method that it is possible to use that I will explain to you, because it's very helpful for travel. Obviously, it's hard to take a diagram and keep it oriented when you're traveling. So I'll tell you a method that is a little bit slower, but it works just as well. And it's much easier. This is also a wonderful thing about these systems, is they're actually quite inexpensive to do. You look at some of the radionics instruments, my goodness, you could spend thousands upon thousands. You know, the SE5, you spend $3,000 here, $3,000 there on equipment. And the wonderful thing about this is that anyone who's penniless can do it. Now, to do this modified form, all one needs is a small black file box, 3x5 file box. And they're available for about $1 at retail. Besides that, you need a diagram of the world. This is a small Earth map. Now, you shouldn't use a map with a lot of writing on the back, like a weather report or something on the back. You should get a copy of the Earth map. Now, Bruce McDonald at Right Hand Press will have some of these available that are easy to make copies of, so you have extra copies. But you need a good drawing, clean drawing of an Earth map. And it should say Planet Earth on it. Now, you also need symbols of what is called the 8th dimension, this dimension here. You notice it is the only dimension that is not in the inside ring. There are 2 rings here. All the dimensions except one are in the inside ring. There is one dimension right here, that this dimension is the doorway to other worlds. It's the intersecting dimension. It is the dimension where the Book of Life is held, where Akasha is held. I have found by gazing at that, I can scan Akasha records very rapidly. You might try it. By this symbol is extremely powerful when something has come from another world, such as an alien being from another world system has entered through this dimension into our world of 30 other dimensions and poisoned it with its negation. Then you've got to block it at the main door. This is the main doorway. The others are like doorways to rooms. Doesn't mean that everything should be blocked there. There are some disharmonies inherent in this earth. You know, for instance,